Hey, it's Heather, and welcome to Adventures in Gardening. So today you're joining me in day 3 of making pizza sauce from my heirloom tomatoes that I grew last summer. So if you're new here, I am a full-time gardener. I garden in my home in Connecticut Zone 6, and I do all kinds of gardening, from houseplants to herbs to perennials, you name it. But I grow a lot of food here. And this time of year, right now, if you're watching this, it's winter time for us. This is my downtime, and I actually enjoy my downtime because it gives me perspective. It helps me to remember why I do the things that I do in season, because in the very busy season as a gardener, if you know, you know. We are just treading water, especially if you're a food grower, because there's a constant turnover. You're a professional, food manager, okay? Incoming, outgoing, and trying not to let anything to go to waste. So today I'm going to be sharing a little technique with you, and it's nothing that I invented. There's a lot of people out there that are doing it, where, if you're a tomato grower like I am, and we have so many tomatoes and we eat so many fresh tomatoes, but then we've got those tomatoes that sit on the windowsill, and you look at them one day and they're okay, and the next day they start to get that little spot, and you gotta either cut the spots out or feed them to the chickens or something. So I learned a few years ago from somebody else, from some other, gardening genius person, to take the entire tomato and put it in the freezer, okay? And I did a lot of canning in season, okay, where when you have that big bulk of tomatoes, it's easy. When you have a big bulk of tomatoes at one time, it's easy to process. It's the onesies and the twosies that are kind of like, you end up wasting some, and I don't like to waste. So I tried this method where I just took a cookie sheet and I would put it in my freezer, and I would put the tomatoes in, and when I had enough to fill a 5-gallon bag, I would put them in the 5-gallon bag. And oh my goodness, I had to clean my freezer out because I had incoming just a couple days ago, and I'm like, okay, I got to do something with these tomatoes right now, and there were a lot of them. So let me tell you where we're at in the whole process. Now, I love to make ketchup, but I have plenty of ketchup. We go through a lot of pizza sauce, okay, and that's what we're going to be canning today. So I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to show you what I've done so far, and then we're going to can it up. So let me walk you back. About 3 days ago, I lugged all of the tomatoes out of my basement freezer. And when I tell you that they were hard as a rock, oh my goodness, they were like, it was like marbles. Okay, so I brought them all up, and then I tried to lay them out in single file on cookie sheets, on baking sheets. Okay, so what kind of tomatoes did I make the pizza sauce out of? Well, all kinds of organic heirloom tomatoes. I own a small business where I grow and sell organically grown tomato plants, and so I'm constantly trialing them. And if you want to know more about the different tomatoes that I grow, you can go to this link right here. There's a video that I did, I guess about this time last year. I cannot believe how many people have viewed it. But there's a lot of different really great tomatoes. I've been doing this for quite a few years, and I've kind of narrowed it down. I'm always, incorporating new ones, but some really gorgeous tomatoes, and you can learn more about them at that link. So how long does it take for tomatoes to defrost? Well, a lot longer than I anticipated, okay? I left the house and ran some errands, and 6 hours later, they were still frozen. So I tried, they tell you side note, I never peel my tomatoes. okay? Because I will use an immersion blender at the end of the process, and it helps to thicken everything up, and I don't mind if I see little bits here and there, so that doesn't bother me. But as I was peeling these frozen tomatoes, they were very papery. They were hard and papery, and I'm like, oh, guess I better peel these. So I peeled the majority of them. So I peeled and I cored them even though they were still frozen. Was it a nice experience? No. Do I prefer to can this way? No. But it's better than letting the tomatoes go to waste, because I would rather handle them and can them when they're fresh. So as I skinned and cored them, I threw them into a stock pot and I just let that simmer. And so when I do anything that needs to be a little thicker, like sauce or ketchup or pizza sauce, whatever, I will literally, can you hear my stove hissing behind me? I will let it go. I will turn it on low. Sometimes I'll turn it off when I go to sleep and let it cool down through the night, but it's still warm when I get up. So then I turn it back on. So yeah, it's really a 3-day process that I'm, kind of cooking down these tomatoes. So at one point I did go in and try to fish out some more of the skins because they were still looking like they were going to be a problem for me. I did not get 100% of them, but by day 2, yesterday, they looked like they were perfectly soft, so that was fine. So when the tomatoes had stewed down quite a bit, it was time for me to use the immersion blender. And you can see in these videos that I'm showing you how much the liquid reduced, or the sauce reduced as the time went by. And I really get that, before I put my spices in, I'm using the immersion blender because I don't want my spices, I don't know, you could do it either way, it really doesn't matter, this is just the way I do it, but I want to use the immersion blender and go in there after the seeds and the skins and really blend everything up. And then I go in and I add my spices. So what spices did I use? So I loosely used a recipe that I found online because I'm not going to measure. So this is not an exact recipe. I'm sorry if you're looking for an exact recipe, but there's so many recipes out there. I will tell you, I do not add any sugar to my pizza sauce. That is my preference. So I did add in a half a cup of vinegar, of white vinegar to it. Day 2, yesterday morning, I did that. But I added everything dried, okay, because I don't have any fresh stuff right now. So I added dried garlic, dried onion, dried basil, dried rosemary, let's see what else, dried parsley, and some salt. So I really herbed it up, okay, so there's a lot of herbs in my sauce. So that is all I've done, and I've tasted it, and I think it tastes great. So I think that we're ready to go to the next step, and that is we're going to be canning in half-pint jars. All right, so here we are. You can see how much this sauce has stewed down since I started. We were just a little below the little bumps over there. Yeah, so how much is in there? I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 half pints. I'm not really sure right now. And I have right here, I have my canner already. And over here, I have my jars that I poured boiling water in, so those are ready, and I have my lids and my rings. So let's fill these up. So anyway, the whole point of showing you the pizza sauce today and my process is to show you there are little tips and techniques that you can do in season so that you don't get frustrated. I think a lot of times, people get spring fever, okay? Spring fever is real, my friends. People go out of the gate and they are planning far more than they can actually maintain and do well, and that's normal. They don't call it spring fever for nothing. So, and I'm just as guilty of it. There is always, I start much more than I can handle a lot of the times. But, little things that you can do, like freeze your tomatoes whole so that you can process them on a slow day in the middle of the winter. Well, I think that is a blessing. Too bad you can't do it with cucumbers, right? So this just happens to be the exact amount that we use on pizzas. So that's about it. I processed the jars for 25 minutes each. And now we have, I cook pizza once a week, so that's 12 weeks worth of pizza sauce right there on tomatoes that may have been thrown away. So I hope this encourages you to, you know, just try something a little different and don't waste anything when it comes to your garden. Figure out how you can, you know, either give it to people that you love in your life or figure out how to preserve it in the moment or preserve it later like I did today. So subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm just getting geared up to and for my garden season. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.